Milo Yiannopoulos was a star at some point in his past in the right-wing world. And Tucker Carlson is on this campaign to get to the bottom of gay. He's
Why
real
are you gay?
Yeah, he's real fixated. You know this if you've been watching my show, because I think this is time 3 in just the last couple weeks, few days, that we've covered stories where Tucker's just so obsessed with this belief he has that there's something suspicious about what's going on with the homosexuals. And he doesn't want to know, but he really, really wants to know. He hates that he has to ask these questions, but please tell me everything, is kind of the state of mind that Tucker's in. And he's trying to argue that, I guess, it's like not real. So we already discussed this in a different segment. We're just going to have some fun with this one because these clips are absolutely bonkers, where he's talking to Milo Yiannopoulos, who used to be a prominent right-wing figure and was gay, is what he would say he was gay, and then he became ex-gay. And so Tucker loves it because this is Tucker's big thesis right now, which many people have tried and failed to substantiate. And it's funny because throughout this interview that I'll show you clips from, Tucker does the whole, why won't they let us ask these questions? Why won't they let us ask, how do you become gay? Can you ungay? Is conversion therapy be effective, right? He's like, why can no one ask these questions? There must be something they're hiding. And it's another example of just because you say no one lets you ask these questions doesn't mean anyone's actually stopping you from asking those questions. And actually, millions of words of research papers have been dedicated to giving evidentially backed answers to the very questions you're asking. You just don't want to accept them because it would lead a logical and rational person to the conclusion that you should support people being who they are because of how inherent it is. But he wants to ignore all of that research, ignore all the people who have asked those questions, and then empirically sought answers and just place himself back in a victimhood mindset of everyone's oppressing me from and trying to stop me from asking these questions. And the person I guess he thought could give him the answers was Milo Yiannopoulos, who's just a deeply disturbed person. I feel bad for him. You'll see this come up multiple times where he's like, yeah, homosexuality is not real because, you know, back when I was gay, I would be sitting in a plane and I would see someone cute and I'd have to go masturbate in the bathroom immediately. And it's like, dude, that's your problem. That's not our problem. That's your problem. That's like a whole separate thing. That's just that you had an issue. That didn't have anything to do with you being gay. Okay, so here's the first clip that we looked at already as a teaser, and then we'll dive into the meat of this. No pun intended.
I have to be honest with you. I bear some responsibility for this. Because
look. How are you going to... He's not right in the head. Okay.
I have to be honest with you. I bear some responsibility for this because it was me 10 years ago mainstreaming homosexuality into the Republican Party. Is the great regret of my life.
It wasn't.
More so than anything I've done to my own soul, which is a lot. It's the great regret of my life because it has given rise to horrors I never imagined. Let me say, Lenin said, all revolutionaries come to hate their children. Well, you're not a revolutionary. The gay horrors that I've given birth to, Lady Marga, Nick Fuentes, keep me up at night. They keep me up at night.
Okay. So you'll notice throughout this interview, Milo's right eye, anytime he looks at Tucker, he can't open his right eye seemingly, which I don't know. Again, we're going to get to the whole, just stick with me, the whole chronological series of events here, but I'm just giving you a couple teasers because there's a lot to talk about in case you don't feel like you have the energy to listen through all of this nonsense of Tucker's exploration of why gay is a woke scam, even though it shows up in nature and even though it's been the thing forever. Then get a pap that could maybe give you some energy to listen through this. Click or scan that thing or drinkpep.com, order it directly to your doorstep. Gut-friendly energy made by myself and my two brothers. Here's one other teaser clip.
Three little pigs. But the gays now.
So mountains of scholarly research about the very questions Tucker is acting like no one lets him ask on one side. aside from my personal interest in Tucker being wrong about this, even set that aside. Just my inclination to go with evidence, more empirical information, that's on one side. And that's where I derive my view, aside from even just my heart. But then Tucker, so you have all that, the mountain of empirical evidence and research, okay? Or you can trust Milo, okay? Research papers or scholars or, okay? So that's what we're dealing with here. Okay. Now, here's Tucker introducing the topic.
Support among black voters? They're more in the, why are you gay camp? they're not impressed at all. In fact, I'm trying to do the math here. I think his support.
Sorry, I just wanted to play that clip. That's not actually the intro.
Why are you gay?
Yeah, now we have that on the soundboard. Here's him introducing Milo.
You're really nice to do this. I'm glad you came. I want to begin with...
The only person who'll have me on. I'm joking.
No, I'm actually really interested. I'm interested in this topic.
We know.
I've never been interested in it, but I want to begin by asking you...
It's icky, isn't it? It's icky.
Well, sort of and personal, but, it's occurred to me, particularly when I have interviewed Republican politicians, particularly neocons over the years.
Homosexuality comes to mind.
I've always wanted to say, in a Ugandan accent, are you gay?
Why are you gay?
So let me ask, are you gay? Were you gay? Like, what is gay?
Nobody's gay. Nobody's gay.
I think you just disproved your point. Podcast listener, he puts on these big red reading glasses so that he can say nobody's gay. Oh my gosh, something so iconic and disturbing about Tucker going, I've never been interested in this topic, but I'm just fascinated. I want to know, are you gay? What is gay? It's the same thing when he goes, what is porn? Stop. Well, who is this for? Who is this for? Oh, okay.
Hey, were you gay? Like, what is gay?
Nobody's gay. Nobody's gay. After that clip, which is the best thing on the internet, he changes the question, the interrogative to a declarative. He says, why are you gay? And she starts, it starts talking. He says, you are gay. It becomes a statement. And this is where he goes, this is where he loses me because nobody is gay. We've been encouraged to think of this. It's an icky subject. Like straight men don't want to think about.
No, it's okay. That. I mean, it's reached.
But you invited me.
Well, I invited you because I have not, not wanted to be engaged with the topic at all. I don't have super strong personal feelings about it. But all of a sudden, it has become like a defining fact of the West that we have a huge gay population. Like, what does that?
Sodomy,
but no one wants to talk about
giving aid with strings attached. So I'm trying to. What metaphor am I reaching for? Strings attached. Yes, you can, but only if you have a gay pride festival.
Right.
What is that?
Yes, exactly. What is that?
Yes, it has been, and all of the.
This is so wild. This is so wild. It doesn't even feel like we're in the year that we're in. And you have a guy who's obviously just lived a very troubled life. And that had nothing to do with his sexuality. But he was told, because he was trying to be a star in the right-wing movement, that his issues were because of that. And then he later talks about like his sex addiction, Milo. I'll show you that clip. And tells an anecdote, a lurid anecdote, and proves my point that you've lived a life where you're dealing with very unique and separate problems, and you should try to treat those problems. But you've been convinced, because of, again, being within the right wing, that you should diagnose your problems as just your sexuality. And so then he's on this arc of trying to prove that he's solved his problems by ungaying. I love it every time I say it. But as you're talking, it's so clear to us you still have not solved your problems. It didn't work. It didn't work. That was never the problem. And for Tucker to bring on someone who's so mentally unstable to be like a scholar on homosexuality because he, as, I don't know, some sort of grift or weird something, announced himself to be ex-gay, is an SNL skit. It's not real. And I don't think Tucker sees it as real either. I think he really enjoys the entertainment of stuff like this, while personally he doesn't actually think he's getting at anything substantive.
These things, and with the collapse in people identifying as trans, you're beginning to now see what some of us have always known about homosexuality, which is that this is a product. I mean, there are some people, obviously, who were probably always going to be gay. Tammy Bruce. But, like maybe she might be the only real lesbian. She might be the only real...
State Department spokeswoman who could do the word salad. Is that who he's talking about?
I believe when Tammy Bruce tells me that she was only ever into women, I believe her. Yes. And I like her, by the way. I think she's great. But she's like the only real lesbian. With gay men, which is completely different, we see the numbers go up, the numbers go down. This is not... without some change in environmental factors, this doesn't make sense if we believe the old lie born this way. If we believe what was in fact invented in the 1980s as a public relations strategy.
All right, we'll listen to this part in a second here. Can we take a quick break? First of all, we fact-checked the whole numbers thing in the last Tucker segment. You can go look at it, but they're just wrong. There hasn't been some big explosion, and then the numbers haven't collapsed. And then any discrepancies in year-to-year numbers or decade to decade can be easily explained based on how accepting or not accepting a society was, because all those surveys aren't testing someone in a clinical sense. Watch this. Now watch this. Here's the Fox News lower third chyron dropped Sydney Sweetie photo. Now here's, I don't know, Timothy Chalamet's like, not that, it's just surveys of people saying, will you say your identity? And I don't know, maybe they just don't actually look at the numbers. They just have invented narratives in their head about those stats. But before we get back to it, I had more people who are fellow YouTubers text me about the intro to this last Tucker segment than any other segment I've done. Yeah. We gotta talk about gay again. Tucker Carlson. That was the beginning, and it led to someone making this. Jaden, you wanna play that song? Let's go. Anything, Tucker.
Why are you gay?
Okay. Very good. So, there's that. I had so many people saying, and then we had commenters too, saying that they were like in their office and they just clicked on my latest video, and on full blast in their office, it was just gay, 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 gay. So I do apologize for that. All right, picking back up with the interview. While we watch it, please do click the subscribe button. Did I say that already? Please do, if you appreciate these segments. Trying to make fun out of the absurd. That could be the tagline. Free subscribe.
Born this way. So what happened back in the days, gays were in the 80s and with the AIDS and all the rest of it, wanting to be out and proud and to wear their sins on their sleeves. And somebody came up with this idea, which caught on and worked. It was twofold. One is, what if we say that being gay is like being black or being a woman?
Yes.
Then they're a bigot.
I remember that. I remember coming out, I said, Mom, Dad, you know black people? I'm like that, but different. I'm like sexually... You know how black people are black? Well, in a similar sense, I'm gay, gay, gay. I remember that. Yeah, I remember that PR campaign. What is this? Look at his face. What is it? His eyes were stuck up for like 5 seconds straight at the top of his skull. Okay, First of all, he's about to say, as if there's this malicious strategy. Do you know what he's describing? People went, hey, maybe if advocating for ourselves by saying, you know how love is the most beautiful thing in life? Well, I'd love if you'd love that I love certain people. Maybe that's a simple way to explain it to people instead of anything more complicated. I just explained to you there's a bunch of empirical, disputes the Tucker idea of like we should convert people back and all that. But numbers and studies and all, doesn't resonate with people's hearts. The most compelling way to resonate with people's hearts about being, again, I feel crazy even explaining this in 2025 or arguing it, but I mean, Tucker's bringing it up. It's fine. No one's stopping you from asking the questions. Is to appeal to people's hearts and say, you know how you love your, to men out there, you know how you fall in love with women? It's like that, but a little different. And maybe that simplicity is a better way to advocate. That's being described and heard by Tucker, described by Milo and heard by Tucker as this malicious plot, like a deep state plot to trick people.
Not weird. And so it takes the religious, the moral majority's sinful lifestyle choice argument, and it screws them because now they're saying like, you're wrong to be a girl or you're wrong to be black.
Exactly.
It was invented wholesale by the
Mom, Dad, if you respond poorly to what I'm about to say, you hate black people. I remember that. I do remember that. What are we going to do with these goobers, Jaden? Cole, what are we going to do?
Tucker every time just, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But tell me just a little bit more, though. You're kind of staying up here. I want you to get a little bit deeper. Tell me more specifically.
Activists in the 1980s. And the second part of it was, and this is in a book called After the Ball, which is kind of defined how gay activists were going to, it was very influential because it was really the book that told gay activists how to get this revolting sin that most people don't even want to think about up front and center, family friendly, and ultimately to the state where we let them adopt children, which is a whole thing we'll get into.
All right, I have a deal to make. Don't change the adoption policy, except how about we prevent you specifically from adopting children? Let gay couples adopt children. You specifically. Is this a good concession? At least, how about we start? Let's do this. To test it out, let's just start with you specifically can't adopt children. Because I agree you shouldn't. Milo, you. Okay, because, yeah. Yikes. Now, do you remember whenever Milo was on Tim Pool and was irritated by I specifically wore one of my funky sweaters because I knew we were going to cover this clip? Because he apparently didn't like my funky sweaters.
It's framed by that terribly condescending, it's sort of, there's a premise granted at the beginning of it that she's on there as a kind of gargoyle, as a grotesque, as a sort of caricature of what an evil right-wing person. And I met this guy in a bar 2 days ago in DC, just coincidentally.
You're talking about Luke Beasley?
Yes, I think so. The one with the awful clothes.
Yeah, he's been here. Yeah, he's been here several times.
I mean, he's somebody who's got sort of medium verbal IQ and just absolutely no actual intelligence at all.
Nice. I would be insulted by that if it were coming from literally any other messenger. If it were being said by literally anybody else, that would hurt my feelings. And ditto on the outfit critique, sir. And he is right. I have told y'all that bar story. Okay, moving forward to this.
Its origin is there at something that was not quite right.
Have you ever been addicted to anything?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Big time.
So there's that moment when your mind is flooded and it's all you can think about.
Yes.
And it's all that you can... You got to get it out, because if you don't do a line or have a smoke or do something, if you don't get it out, it's just going to be all that you can think about for the rest of the day. It's just driving you crazy because it floods your mind.
Yeah.
I've been addicted to one or two little things, and I realized my sex worked the same way.
Yeah, I believe that.
I realized that when I was on a plane I'm sitting down, hey, team 1A, I'm sitting on the plane. I'm like, I'll have a gin and tonic, girl. And then, like a basketball player, well, not a basketball player, they're all gay nerds, but like a football player would sit next to me. Like it would take hold of me. There were times I had to like go to the bathroom and like, because
podcast listeners, he did the like masturbation gesture. So, wow, look at what I just paused on. Whoa. So this is my point, right? Tucker is happy for him to convey to an audience of people who wants to believe that people are being propagandized, even though the numbers don't back this up, or they're being tricked, or they're tricking themselves into being gay. And Tucker's happy for him to help those audience members feel that's a correct position by Milo telling his own story. But in his own story, he proves this is very much a him sex addiction problem, not who it's directed at. Not where his attraction lies, but something more to the tune of sex addiction. Because he describes seeing someone he finds attractive on a flight and having to dash to the airplane bathroom, the least sexy place on planet Earth. Think in your mind, can you think of a less sexy place other than Tucker's house than an airplane bathroom where when you flush it goes and startles you, and it's the moving, and he sprints to the bathroom to masturbate because he saw someone he found attractive, because he saw someone with his eyes and his physical reaction was that powerful he had to go to the bathroom. That is not something you can project onto all gay people. That is something you need to work out in your own life, because that isn't normal. It's not normal to see someone and go, oh, they're cute. That's not normal, okay? Oh, hey, oh my gosh. That's not normal. And I'm not saying in a mean way. I actually am sympathetic to you should get treatment, and there are options for that. But don't project that onto a bunch of other people. And Tucker's like, yeah, I get it. Yeah, Milo, I totally get it. Oh.
I had to get rid of it because it was taking hold of my mind.
It sounds like a demon.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Oh my God.
I joke, I say Gorgoroth, the semen demon. He comes out of the way. He doesn't visit me very often anymore. But it's like,
totally real. I mean, that stuff is all real.
But I realized that. So I don't do cocaine anymore, but it'll shock people to learn I used to be a bit of a cokehead. When I was, that rush of dopamine,
yep,
the rituals associated with it as well. I was like, oh my God, that's how I feel about sex, and that can't be right.
That's a sex addiction. So maybe you go get treatment and then you go on a podcast tour about your journey with sex addiction, not about being ex-gay. Wild. I've just so you know, Milo, so that you know this isn't something you can project onto everybody else. I've never once in my whole entire life glanced at someone and had to race to the nearest bathroom. It's never happened in my whole life. Unless they were going with me. Just kidding. I'm kidding.
Can't be right.
No, it's literally I'm not just talking about gay sex, but that is literally a perversion.
Yes. And it is a demon, and it's also other things too, because these things go hand in hand.
May I ask how, in your own, if it's not too personal, how did you wind up?
We're there now, aren't we?
Okay, I think we are. No, but
I just told you I wanked on UA1722. I cracked one out in the bathroom. And people are never going to sit next to me on planes again. I think we're good.
Anyone who's ever been, I drink alcohol in the morning. I mean, anyone who's ever been possessed.
Please, I'm British. That doesn't count.
No, I know, but I'm just saying.
Give me a real one.
Anyone who's ever been possessed by an obsession knows that it can totally destroy your behavior. But we spend so much time talking in our society about, gay, and it's all good. Of course, gay is good and gay rights are good. In fact, they're the marker of human rights. They're the only human right, really. But
it is the only human right people still care about.
Oh,
your right to be sodomized, your right to wake up in the morning and you're like, oh, okay, you're ready to go, are you? And hear that voice in your mind, and it's not a sultry voice, it's not a sexy voice, it's go and get it. It's it's like it's called.
I feel a little bit bad because this is it's like Tucker's egging him on, so he doesn't realize how much he's just telling on himself, maybe is the phrase, or over divulging his own problems. To my previous point, let me just continue framing it this way. I've never once, and maybe the guys can tell me this happened to them, obviously different, but I'm just woken up and heard, go and get it. Go and get it. I don't know what's going on with you. Maybe, I don't know what that means, but it's not relevant to this discussion. That's sad too, because if he had a healthier relationship, straight or gay, with relationships, then his life could be so much more enriched. But it sounds like it's just been a big battle that has felt like some demonic, like caving to a demon all the time. And that's sad.
Voice. It's not a sexy voice. It's go and get it. It's it's like it's Gorgoroth. Anyway, sorry, I'm interrupting you, but
Boy, that's dark. I've thankfully never. It's one of the few problems I don't have, but I get it.
That's why Grindr's so dangerous. It's just like
it?
within 20 minutes they can be in the living room.
I want to ask you about.
I want to ask you about that. Tell me, how quick you think even in cabins in Maine they could get there that quickly? Oh no.
They're dangerous. It's just like within 20 minutes they can be in the living room.
I want to ask you about that. But first, let me ask you about your own life, because you never get to ask, everyone's telling you how proud they are to be gay, and that's great and all that. But
it's a sin, by the way. Pride is a sin.
Well, I agree with that. But you never get to ask, like, how did you start being gay? Like, it was specifically described with,
the way I remember
PG.
So again, do you see what I mean? Tucker's obsessed with him being the person who's asking the questions no one lets you ask. But it's actually pitiful, embarrassing that he has to use that tired bit when he's asking questions everyone asks all the time. You're like not even interesting. You're not unique. You're not special. You're not thinking of good questions. You're not brave. You're not courageous. That's a question that gets asked like every 2 seconds all the time. So there's kind of I would say most people, maybe not who are like young now, but most people who are adults now, the majority of gay people probably had tons of people going, this is bad, no, terrible, sin. So it's like that was the prevailing response people got. Tons of people who are homeless because they've been kicked out of the house because of literally just telling their family who they are. And he's saying, no one ever lets you ask, why are you gay? And then the other part of it, on a less dark note, is that actually even among people who aren't, I won't use weighted words, who aren't judgmental, maybe we'll say, who are all open and great, still a very common question is like, okay, so tell me about your experience. Like, when did you know? What led that to being your self-identification? Like, what was, that's constantly discourse that people have among friends, within relationships. So not only are you not asking an interesting question as compared to other hateful people, or no, sorry, that was a weighted term. Let me say other judgmental people, anti-gay people. There we go. Not only are you not thinking of interesting questions within that cohort, and tons of those people level those statements, but you're also not even thinking of an interesting question in general, because tons of people ask other people their experience with their own identity as it pertains to sexuality. So it's not interesting in any way at all. It's not new, it's not brave, and everyone asks it, and everyone's allowed to ask it. All right, what's this?
When you look back on the life that you led 10 years ago, how do you feel?
I feel ashamed. I feel embarrassed and disgusted by the things I did, but I feel ashamed, particularly about 10 years ago, about how many people I thought I was like laying it on thick with this sort of like Dame Edna Everage kind of, a Hyacinth Bouquet performance on stage. And I realized people weren't picking up the layers maybe. And every talk I ever gave in the Q&A, I said, if I could not be gay, I would push that button, and nobody ever that never registered with people.
Why?
I don't know. All they got was being gay is okay now, being gay and right wing is okay now. And I know that I pushed that button with the left to annoy them and because it was absurd at that time, but people never got the message when I said, if I could possibly, I never gave a speech in my life where I told people, go be gay. I said, my first ever appearance on television was with Boy George.
Who on this earth is saying, go be gay? Go do it. Try it.
We have to keep our country gay.
Okay, he said it once. That's sad. That was a bad clip to end on. That's just sad. He's so sad. Sometimes I wonder with people like that who have internalized whatever environmental experiences they had that made them really hate themselves. I think, I wish you could live. This is going to sound really me-centric. I apologize, but I really do feel this way sometimes. I wish you could live a day in my shoes. That sounds crazy. But I mean, I wish you could see what it's like to have an incredible, loving friendship orbit or a web of really fulfilling friendships. To have a loving relationship with yourself and then a loving relationship with your family, and the joy and the lack of turmoil and the fulfillment is so wonderful. I really wish, because I think it would open people like Milo's eyes, I wish he could experience that for a day and see if he could let go of all of whatever's going on with him. Even Tucker, what awaits? Because it really is the reason we do life, are those just loving, powerful, dedicated friendships and relationships and family. And extracting this self-hate and then hate thrown at other people and focusing on that is the best thing in life. And there are so many people that I see out. Like, I get upset, of course, and I do content sometimes I'm not so proud of, and sometimes I don't uphold the principles I'd want to, but ultimately I know that what I'm bringing on the show is a product of a life outside the show that is rooted deeply in reciprocal love with a lot of people. And I think there's so many pundits out there that put a lot of toxic sludge into our discourse that really are just doing it because of the life they live outside of when the camera's on. And so of course they're going to bring that in front of the camera, and how much better our discourse could be if more people had a more love-filled life. That's where I'll leave it. That's kind of, what? How did we get there from Milo talking about jerking in the bathroom? Yoinking? I think we should end this segment on a really perfect tugging. I think we'll just move on. I think we'll move on, actually, now that I'm thinking of it.